Okay, welcome to the stream, everyone. Looks like we are live. So, welcome. This is the Lightsworn locals for this week, before the Lightsworn monthly tournament that we're having later today. That's starting an hour after the locals end. So that'll be exciting, but it should be fun. We've got a fair amount of people. We got 10 people. That's a pretty big number for locals like this. And it looks like we're going to get to 11 here. So that'll be fun. And I think that'll be good. I think getting a bunch of people in with a bunch of different decks will be a good sort of, warm up for the actual event itself. And it should enable people to test against a variety of decks, hopefully. So hopefully that will give people a better idea of what they want to do with their deck, what they want to play. And we'll see how it goes. Okay. Seems like the last person is signed up. Just make sure they're in here. Yep, they're in here. Okay, and I'll get this party started. So, if you don't know what Lightsworn format is, it is the format that is based earlier in the year from Edison, so 2010 format, and it's very similar to Edison format. They share basically an identical card pool. The main thing that is not there is going to be Starlight Road, as far as I remember. There are also some Malefic cards missing and things like that, but it should be relatively similar. The big thing though is the ban list. The ban list is different, and that does enable certain decks to be more powerful than they might be in Edison format. Lightsworn, for instance, had a lot more tools, which is why the format's named Lightsworn format. Doesn't mean it's the best deck in the format guaranteed, though. There have been a lot of experimentation that has shown that, like, while it's very good, it doesn't always win every single tournament. And so I don't know. I feel like it is an open sort of game field to try out things and see how they do. But let's dive into Dueling Book and see if we can pick up any of these games as they're going on here. Seems like we already got some people hosting. So, yeah, we can dive in and when they start and see how they're doing. Okay, it looks like Artos' game has started here, so we'll dive into that one. Gabiulani versus Artos. I'm going to mute the Dueling Book sounds. Some people like them, some people don't. I generally lean on the side of the people who don't, because the people who don't, I find that they can find it like very distracting. Where the people who do, it's just sort of like generally a preference where they can watch it either way, but they just prefer to have it. So that's why I do it that way. But more feedback on that, if you have thoughts on that, let me know. But yeah, charge is going to be activated from Artos here first, revealing Beckoning, TT, and Celestia. Celestia is good to get engraved because it's a name, but the other two, kind of unfortunate. Either way, though, they'll be able to get a search to search out another Lightsworn, some that out, mill some more here. Question is whether they're going to go for it. They're going to go for Lila, makes sense. Pretty good search to start out with. They're going to summon the Lila, go to end phase, and then mill 3 more. So they mill Necro Garden, a very, very good hit. You want that engraved to be able to stop your opponent's plays. And having access to that engraved just gives you more options, right? That's the great thing about Lightsworn, is that, like, once you get those mills set up, you get basically a second hand in the graveyard, right? And I know it's kind of cliche to say that the graveyard is second hand at this point, but I do think that Lightsworn format and like 5D's era, honestly, as a whole, is when the graveyard really starts to become that way, right? Like, you get a lot more options in the graveyard than you have in the past. You could argue that the end of the GX era is probably the one, but yeah, we're pretty close to 2K sub. We got 1916. We'd be going higher if I posted more, honestly, but I just have been kind of swamped for like the long past while because, doing a master's program and also got a full-time job. But I always want to make time for these locals. I want to like try and make time for the community, so I make sure at least the locals every week, even if I can't get out a video. But currently, we can hopefully get that Lightsworn video out. Maybe not this week, but the next one. This week I'm just kind of swamped again. Like, this weekend was hectic for me. Next weekend I might not even be able to host the locals because I've got a friend's wedding that I'm going to. So a lot of people around, and I will be doing wedding stuff. So, it will be kind of hectic. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get to stream locals. We can have locals, but it'll just be like in the Discord, people playing, right? It won't be something that I stream. PJ, if you want to stream it, you can stream it. So that we at least have someone streaming it. But either way, I won't be able to run the locals next week. But the week after, we should be back in business, and I should be, able to stream it again. But this weekend's just a bit hectic. Charge going to be very good, milling a wolf, and no TT, so you don't need to worry about that in terms of like extending into the summons. So yeah, they're going to search out Jane as well to get the aggressive pressure continuing to go. There goes the wolf. 1, 2, 3, 4 Lightsworn names in grave if JD is coming down. Yeah, no worries, PD. I just brought it up as an option. Like I don't want to, like, I would just say if you wanted to, you could, but yeah, no worries if you can't. So yeah, I mean, it's fine if we have a locals that's not streamed too. Like that. I think the locals, the nice thing about it is that it's a weekly tournament every week, so that's what people really enjoy. Getting on camera is kind of nice, but like I feel like it's probably fine. Plague also now engraved, so another option for Artos here. Volandi not really doing much so far. They did get a Sangan search, so that is something. But they just got a bunch of back row there that they're not really able to use. Lila can potentially switch itself, pop another, and then get more aggressive here later. Cold Wave also going to be very good here. Cold Wave is going to be cracked if it goes through. That might just be the end of the game if Volandi does not have something to do there. They do have a Threatening Roar, so Threatening Roar will be chained to the Cold Wave. So that's obviously unfortunate for Artos here. Yeah, I look forward to the DMs, PJ, and yeah, I'll try to answer promptly if I can. Lila can switch and then pop another back row if Artos wants to, which they might do. Because they can't attack this turn, so. But yeah, if it was me, I'd go Lila, switch to attack, pop, and then maybe even do a Plague play if you want to, but yeah, it could be, the move could be go Plague, stack, sync off into Bryo, pitch 2, bounce 2, and then just pass, or just commit another monster to board. Because then what does Volandi do about that? There's a Resolve Bryo on field, and then it's just kind of rough for them. But I think switch Lila, pop is also fine. It seems like Volandi on a bit of a stun deck, which is going to be a bit rough. I feel like, honestly, Bryo makes sense to bounce that last back row because it is something that can be used next turn to stop a push. But then again, Artos does have 14 cards next, so it's not like they're going to mill out anytime soon. It just, I personally would just want to deal with that back row. Get a big guy on field in a way that it's kind of hard for Volandi to actually deal with. Okay, looks like they're going to pass, not going for the Bryo play. They might have another way to deal with that back row, but if it's another T-Roar, then that's just, like, very unfortunate, right? So that's why I would have done the Plague stack, but I mean, that's just me. Like, I don't know. I feel like Artos has their own ideas about what they're doing, and they'll probably be fine here. Looks like Volandi just passing, nothing to do here, but pass. I feel like a Plague play has to be coming sometime soon. Necro getting flipped up. It's going to be fine for Volandi, and they're just going to attack him with everything here. That's going to eat a Mirror Force, which, again, I feel like Bryo would have made sense. Because Bryo is legal in this format. So you go for Plague. If it eats a DD Crow, it eats a DD Crow. Not much you can do about that. You're going to mill off whatever you stack anyways, so you're not getting draw locked. But if you go for Bryo, bounce, then you potentially have a push next turn that wins. But, I mean, you might be worried about, like, Gorge or something on the crackback, but I feel like it would be fine. But, yeah. That's how it goes sometimes, though. And Arto's dropping down pretty low on cards. If there's another T-Roar, that's going to be very bad for them. Okay, now they're going for the Plague. Makes sense. What are they going to go into here? Yep, Bryo. Makes sense. And then pass. I would have done this last turn just to bounce the set. And then you're probably getting in for lethal. And if they don't have lethal, then, like, yeah. But yeah, Bryo's unlimited. That's very true. So that does make it like even better because you can go into multiple Bryos. There's Zero Gardna, and it's just like, that can be used to stop damage here, right? So it's like that's why I felt like going for the Bryo, bouncing the set made sense. I mean, they could have summoned this out after anyways, so it would have been a wash, but like it's just another turn that you're not able to do anything, right? Hmm. You can probably just attack into that, right? Oh yeah, that was my original channel logo. Yeah, the Zero Gardna. Because YGO from Zero, so I was like Zero Gardna would be a good option there. Um, but yeah, so it's cool to see that it's coming up in the stream here. The OG card there. And then pitching for hand side at the end of the turn. So yeah, I mean Artos has time. That's the thing. Like they don't necessarily need to push like too much. They've got Bryo to bounce everything. So you can do that. So not a bunch of JDs. Or I guess JD isn't unlimited anymore, but you can do a lot here uh, to get lethal on board. But yeah, there goes the Bryo pitching the Wolf, trying to bounce this back row. That does go through. Battle Fader is an option though, so Battle Fader might be in Artos' future here. So they probably don't want to go for like JD and stuff yet. They probably just want to attack in. If the backer's not chainable, they can just use Bryo next turn anyways. Attacking for 2300, that will actually connect, and then pass him back. So I think this is very methodical playing for Artos. I think this is good playing from them. No need to commit into stuff, and then potentially have to mill out things. I mean, you can just pitch a card every turn to bounce, right? You're not losing anything from that. So Gulandi setting another and setting another there and passing back. What is Artos going to do? Probably just Bryo bounce too, maybe. I mean, maybe they don't want to do that because a bit more investment, but I mean, this is your clock right here. Bouncing one, hitting a Jar of Greed. Unfortunate hit, but I mean, it is what it is. Are they going to bounce the other? I would bounce another, but that's just me. Oh, they pitched Illumina. Yep. So that will bounce both. And there's 2300 in. So passing back. Again, Artos has time. Gubelani's trying to draw into something. Are they playing Exodia? They might be playing Exodia. That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, triple bounce here might be necessary. Oh, in the standby. Thunder of Ruler. Okay, yep, that will block a turn. No need to bounce now. Because, I mean, you can't get through anything. I wonder if a cold... I don't know. That's just going to pass back to give you Blondie. I mean, the question is, does Gabi Blondie have like 7 more turns of blocking? Upstart's going to come down, drawing deeper. Is this Exodia? It might be Exodia. Seems like the win con right now. Unless the win con is just mill out, but I feel like the win con seems to be Exodia if you're just drawing into whatever you're trying to draw into. There's another Thunder of Ruler. Will Artos be obliterated? I don't know. We'll have to find out. They very well could be. Setting one, passing back. Interesting that they set one there. I'm curious what that card is. I mean, they were at 7 cards in hand, so it makes some sense. Gubulandi setting another card there, passing back. In the standby phase, another Thunder Ruler getting activated. They're destroying all the Thunder's Rulers, it seems like. So, yep, that will be another turn. And Array's just setting another, passing back. Just setting up for when they can actually push through here and potentially get in for some damage. If they can. Say another. Now, this can't be Thunder Ruler. Might be Final Countdown, but if it's Final Countdown, then they've gone a pretty far way to, get there. Yeah, so Frozen Soul will work as well. This has to be very frustrating for Artos here. They've gone through Cold Wave. Setting another, and passing back. And the good thing is that this is very easily sidable against, right? There's a Frozen Soul again. So even if you lose this way game 1, you can very easily side against this sort of thing game 2. Pitching a Lumina for hand size. Sorry, I had a big sneeze there, but I muted the mic hopefully in time. Double Reckless drawing 4. So yeah, 4 turns as Papa Fred says. So even if, drawing 6, okay. So even if, they don't draw into Exodia, Gugulani might still win just through, through just mill, right? But this does seem like Exodia. Setting 1, setting 2, setting 3, setting 4. And setting 5. Okay. Passing back. Frozen Soul. So, yep, that will be that. Heavy Storm coming down. Very good patience on the heavy. That's going to clear away everything else. Oh, it looks like it's Final Countdown, yeah. So, it was Final Countdown. Never got activated because the clock is already there. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of just cards that were kind of useless to give you the Londi here. That Zero Gardener coming down, and that will be good enough to stall for another turn if it sticks to the field. We'll stick the field here. Zero Gardener attributing itself just to avoid any sort of shenanigans, and we're just going to scoop that up. So yeah, the sort of mill plan there worked for them. Let's dive into Run for Red versus Soul here. So it seems like Soul won game 1. We don't know what they're on. We don't know what from Run for Red's on either. But they're over here. That game's over there. It looks like Fante won against Jim Bob very quickly. Very quick game there. So yeah, I wonder what they were playing. We'll have to dive into Fante versus Clemexons after this one, if we get to see that. Seems like a book was used up on that monster. So, it seems like Run for Red's on a cat deck. I don't think cat is as good as it was in cat format, because it's very similar to how the deck is in Edison, where like it didn't really gain much from the ban list. So it's just kind of not as good as it would be before this, and potentially later on in the game. But this is Glads, so it's still good in Glads. But yeah, leaving them with Bestiary, Tiger, and a quest. So Bestie plus whatever Glad is set can get into Geyserus if they want to go for that. So that might be the move. Just pop the monster, but it could be, attack into the set too, because like, I mean, they probably booked it down. So I assume it's not like Raiko. But Run for Red is thinking here. I think the move could be just go for Geyserus, bring out 2 guys. I don't think that's terrible. But, it looks like a set Mole there. Yeah, Mole will not activate when it is face down. Because it has to activate at the start of, the damage step. And it won't even flip up the monster that's attacking. So, it will not. Yes, so it will not activate when being attacked. It will not. I'll just answer this now. Yeah. It will not activate. Okay, it seems like CS lost 2-0 against Lightsworn. It does happen. Lightsworn very, very strong in this format. So yeah, it seems like Wagmuffin moving on there to face the winner of this sort of branch of the tree. Yeah, that's my name, BS Cox. That's me. That's me, your friendly neighborhood streamer, BS Cox. Yep. That's not my regular stream name. That's just my OnlyFans, BS Cox. But only the real fans know about that one. But yeah, looks like it's a Merm, so they're stacking that, and then they're going to bring out another guy, and then stack a quest, go for another guy. Makes sense. We do know the hand is just Tiger and Bestie, so they don't have much defense here, which is sort of a downside from Run for Red, because if Soul has a way to deal with this board, then it's going to be annoying. But, I mean, that is the risk with Glads. Sometimes you just draw the Glads, and there's no, like, War Chariot Engraved to loop with a quest if they wanted to do a quest first, and then Merm to tag out into quest, so, yeah, not much interaction for Run for Red here. The thing is, they've got Test Tiger, they've got Bestiary, they've got many ways to get into things on the following turn. So, like, depending on what Soul's got, you know, and to be fair, Soul knows about it, so like they can essentially play around it a bit. But Run for Red should be in a position where next turn they'll be in a decent spot. This is a bit of a rough one for Run for Red because like a Brain Con would just clear the board, so that's kind of rough. I think it's fine overall. They might not be playing Hiplomas. If they're playing Hiplomas, I would have gone Laquaria Hiplomas here, just because then Brain Con doesn't clear the board. I think it should be fine overall. They're just gonna set one, pass. Okay, very good for Run for Red. They can go into a guise, pop the set, and then attack in for 4,500 here. I think that is incredibly good if they want to do that. They might not want to do that, but I feel like with the Test Tiger in hand, like there's not really much risk to doing that. So it looks like they are going to go for the Geysers play here. You could do Heraclinos, but I think Geysers is the better play here. Popping the set, and then you can set up a Geysers play later. Dark Resonator, very interesting card from the Duelist Genesis. Yeah, that would have blocked some of the damage there, but now they will not be able to. It's 21 and 24. You don't fear Gorge here because you can pop it with like Murmillo and stuff. And you even got Test Tiger to do like double Murmillo. So yeah, it looks like the guys going back into the deck. Will a Heraclinos play happen this turn? It might. It very well could happen this turn with Heraclinos. I think it probably depends on the last card in hand. Red ER coming down, banishing a card from grave there. This might be Evil Hero Dark Gaia. Might be because they got Rocks and Fiends, so that might be it. But what do you banish here? Do you banish the Rock or do you banish the Fiend? I would banish the Rock probably. You don't want them to be able to do like Gaia Plate shenanigans. And yeah, there it goes. The Rock is gone. Yeah, Hero Beat's a good card or a good deck. So yes, I do like Hero Beat quite a bit. I think it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun and also it's very good. It's very straightforward too. So you don't have to do much like complex structuring of your turns and stuff. But yeah. Will they go Herc? That is the question here. I don't think Herc's a bad option. It just limits what you can do on the following turn. But it looks like they are going to go Herc, which makes sense to me. You actually can Test Tiger Heraclinos, I believe. Even though Heraclinos can't tag out in battle phase, I'm pretty sure Test Tiger, just as the Gladiator Beast, you should be able to tag it back into the extra deck and then bring out another Glad Beast. I could be wrong about that, though. I believe that does work that way. Now, of course, this whole set to monster here. Yeah, that doesn't really matter because Merm can't pop face downs, just pops face ups. But yeah, okay, it looks like setting one, passing back. Looks like Darius is going to come down. There's the Test Tiger. And now you can actually go into a Geysers and just win the game. So tag out the Darius, go into Bestie, and then Bestie and Heraclinos into Geysers pop. Unless they've got Battle Fader exactly, they're dead. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to acknowledge like what decks you're good with and not good with, right? Like I think that is something that a lot of duels can benefit from. Like for me personally, I feel like I'm better with like control-based decks. I'm not really as good with like aggressive decks. And also complicated decks as well. Like I think you can learn a complicated deck, but when you have a long combo to do, like I do definitely find myself like, you know, for instance, in the cat plant video that I did, there was a turn where like I did a combo and I completely like messed up one small thing. And I was like, I knew going into it that I wanted to change this small thing and not do what I did. But unfortunately, I just messed up the combo and not good. But anyways, there goes a Geysers, and that's going to be the end of the game. Battle Fader. Okay, they do have the Battle Fader. Interesting. I guess it is a Fiend, but yeah. I mean, I think this is still good. I think this is still good. I know they say oof, but like I think this makes sense. Like I feel like it's kind of tough. I mean, Soul could like just go into a Monarch here. That is an option, right? If they got Caius, Tree Battle Fader, banish the Geysers, that's obviously bad, right? But I do still feel like Run for Red is in a good position. That's it. Could be like War Chariot, which would be great. And I do think this was the best move they could have done. Maybe the only other move they could have done was not making Heraclinos on the previous turn, but I think it made sense to make Heraclinos there just to shut down their options and most likely get into Geysers in the following turn. Looks like they're going to set one pass back. That's obviously going to be a bit scary from Run for Red here, depending on what they want to do. Question is, you push through it even if it could be live back row that's annoying for you. Depends, I think, on what the follow-up is, right? What's the card in hand? What's the set? If you can bounce back from losing the Geyserus, probably attack in. If you can't, probably hold it. Okay, looks like they didn't shuffle, so now they're going to shuffle. There it goes, back into the deck, draw. Okay, there's the Merm. The question is, do you switch Gizzy to defense to play around Mirror Force? Do you not? Looks like they're not going to do that. I think that makes sense. I personally wouldn't play around Mirror Force here. I'd just go in. If they got Mirror Force, they got Mirror Force. It's going to be annoying no matter what. So, yeah. Gizzy in for lethal if it connects. Might not connect. That is an option. Looks like Call's going to get flipped. Call's going to grab Resonator, so it looks like Soul will be living for the turn. They're not going to be living for too long, I will say. That's 11, and then, you know, you can pop the Resonator and be in a good spot there. So, it definitely is tricky what you want to tag out here. Huh? Why is it targeting the back row? I'm also curious. That might have just been a misclick. Yeah, it seemed like it was just a misclick. Yeah, so what do you get here? You could get Bestie to pop the set. Or pop the call, that is. And then tag out into, like, double a quarry. Yeah, looks like Bestie is going to pop the call. And then take the monster with it. Makes sense. And then go into Ready Ari plus another thing, maybe. What's in the grave? No Glads in grave, so no quest plays, really. No Darius plays either. Could be Ready Ari. Yeah, I don't know. Ready Ari something. Looks like Sam Knight's going to come down. Sam Knight pretty decent, all things considered. So I wonder if this means they're not going to go for Ready Ari. Oh, they're going to go for Secutor. Interesting. Interesting set of monsters here. Not going to lie. I would have probably done a Ready Ari in that, but I don't know what their set is. Their set could be something that makes sense for this. Either way, next turn, Soul can't clear this. Run for red wins. They go like Geysers and stuff, but most likely they win, that is. I mean, there could be more Battle Faders in the future, but I feel like this is a very good spot for Run for Red, depending on what that set is. You know, that set could make a difference here. I feel like based on what we're seeing here, it's probably something like Wuboku. Either Wuboku or Solemn. Yeah. I'm not really sure what Soul has here to overcome that. Oh, it looks like Clemexon won against Fanta. Damn, those games were going fast on that side of things. There goes a Sidra. Sidra will be annoying here, potentially attacking over the Bestie. True Nade as well. Wuboku getting chained to that, so it makes sense. But this is why you go into Laquari as opposed to... I mean, I guess they still have the Geysers play, right? But this is why you go into Laquari as well instead of like Sam Knight. Because if you go to Laquari, and let's say they've got a way to deal with Geysers, you still crash, get rid of the Cyber Dragon, and potentially get in for lethal. But yeah, this should be game. You just go like Geysers pop, and then and you pop that, attack in. If it's Battle Fader, they live. If not, they die. So not really much to think about here. Tessire, sure. Tessire for Murmillo. Yeah, that makes sense because then you can go into I would not have tagged out the Bestie. I would not have tagged out the Bestie here because now you can't go in to Geysers if you want to. I would have tagged out like the Secutor or the Sam Knight. I would have actually tagged out the Secutor because if they got Battle Fader, you're not getting into a Secutor, right? And you just want to go into a Gizzy. So why Secutor first? That just plays horribly into Gores. Like then you don't get in lethal through Gores. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. I always say in these games that like it's much easier to commentate than to actually play, right? So I'm talking about this and I'm like, pointing out things that to me seem clear, but in the moment it doesn't necessarily seem clear. And also, like, I don't necessarily know exactly their deck. I don't know what their opponent's deck is. They have more insight into that. So, yeah, it looks like the other game going on is Chloe versus Aratos. So let's dive in to that one if it's still going. Is it still going? It might not be going. It might have just wrapped up. Could be Volodny versus Artos. Looks like they're wrapped up. Seems like Artos lost to Clody. Clody will be facing PJ now. So, yeah, there we go. PJ and Clody. And let's see how it goes. Where is that? It looks like they haven't started yet, but let's dive back into Run for Red versus Soul then. Okay. Here we go. Game 3 of what I presume is Evil Hero versus Gladbeast. I know Gladbeast, but I don't necessarily know if Evil Hero is what is on the other side. We get Doomcal, another Fiend. Fiends and Rocks. I do think that leans towards it being Evil Hero Dark Gaia. Cider coming down. That does not trigger Doomcal because, it is not an effect. And there goes the heavy pop in the back row. There goes Dim Fizz. Oh, Dim Fizz is going to be pretty good here. Cider's attacking in point blank. No other monsters here. That's very interesting to me. I feel like there can't be other monsters in hand. Otherwise, you would have summoned out a Glad and then poked in, right? So I feel like the hand is not very monster heavy. Might be Test Tigers, might be Secutor, but like either way, there's not Glads there. Otherwise, you summon a Glad, get a free tag out, go for that. BrainCon on the Sidra. That's huge, especially, again, if there aren't really many monsters there. Distributing over the Sidra. For a Caius, what's it going to target? Target the Dim Fizz. So, again, I think that leans toward this being Evil Hero. Because, clearly Dim Fizz hurts their deck quite a bit. And Kite's attacking in for 24. And Fred's going to take that. So, kind of rough. Set might be Wuboku. That's what I would assume. It's either Wuboku or like T-Roar. But generally Glads prefer Wuboku because then the monster could still attack in, right? And then get the tag out. Charge gonna come down. Makes sense why you get rid of the Dim Fizz. Milling 3, and there's the Dark Calling. Yep, definitely a Evil Hero deck. So searching up probably Raikou, maybe Lila. Maybe you get a Lila just if in case there's another Floodgate in hand, but Raikou is also just good at popping whenever and slowing up the battle phase. Jane is the search. That is an interesting one, but I guess this does get over most Gladbeasts, and it's just annoying for Gladbeasts to attack into. Like, Gladbeasts have a bit of a tough time dealing with just a big guy a lot of the times, so. There is a Laquari, and there's a back row. There's another back row passing. Yep, so it seems like it was a very monster-like hand. I would assume that they did not have the Laquari last turn, or else they probably would have tagged out, unless they were saving it because they didn't have protection for it. Maybe they drew protection now, but I feel like the most likely case was just not having it. Unless they wanted to play around BrainCon and Decaius exactly, which is also an option, but. Now, Soul has to have the read that there is a Wuboku back there. I feel like they probably also can have the read that there's a Solemn back there. No Starlight Road in this format, so you don't need to worry about that. But, I mean, it just limits the options for what the potential back row is there. There's another Doomcal. Run for Red thinking about that. That is a bit of a thing because, like, Doom Cal makes it so your Glide Piece can't trigger, even if Waboku happens, because then it just trades for the Doom Cal, so it makes it pretty rough here. And it looks like the Kai is going to attack in. Is there going to be a Waboku for that? It's rough. Because if you Waboku this and then do, Laquari, and then I've got War Chariot set. War Chariot actually won't be able to be used here because Laquari will be back in deck as costs, so you won't be able to War Chariot the Doom Cal. You probably still protect the Laquari, but it's just a bad situation. Yeah, there's the Waboku. I think honestly it's a bad enough situation where you might have wanted to Solemn the Doom Cal, depending on what the second one. But yeah, NBP, Laquari no effect, makes sense. And is there going to be a back row here? Yep, no effect. And it looks like they're going to pass. Okay, this is a very formidable board. Now, there are ways around it. If you have a way, if like you summon up Bestie, you go into geysers, you don't need to use the effective geysers. You can just crash into the Doom Cal. But look, it's going to be another set pass. Rough stuff here indeed. Runfred is not drawing many monsters, but it is a problem with Glad Beast. I've noticed that Glad Beast can suffer from just drawing only monsters or drawing only back row. Dimpriz on the Caius makes sense. Getting rid of that. And main 2, is Soul going to do more? Are they going to do less? I think you have to read the middle set Solemn. Jane coming down. Jane will just pop the Doom Cal that is activated. So I think that was maybe a misplay from Soul. Maybe they've got some big brain play here they're doing, but I feel like that was I feel like they just didn't realize, and then they're like, oh damn, yeah. But yep, now Bestiari can tag in, tag out. A lot of things are unlocked for Soul now, or not for Soul, for Run for Red now. Yeah, that was a pretty brutal misplay there, if it was a misplay. I feel like Ready Ari could be good. Banish the one Fiend Engrave and then shut off their Dark Callings. Yep, and there it goes. Banish Doom Cal. Yeah, probably the best thing they got right now. Man 2, 7-1, passing back. So just a lot of defense here. So things are not going well for Soul now. Yeah, that was just a brutal play there. There goes Koki Mary Guardian, but Bottomless will deal with that. That does tell you that they probably have a rock in hand. So that is good information as well, because they wouldn't summon out the Guardian if they didn't have a rock to reveal for it. Kaiku coming down, that is just brutal. That is... Yeah. Yep. That is... Oof. That's so rough. I still probably would have attacked Ready Ari then Kaiku, because if they do have Gores, you want to be able to get over the token with the Kaiku and then just pop the Gores with the Murmillo. And the Caillou still stops Dark Calling. So I probably would have attacked in that order, but it's a minor thing now. I think Run for Red's just now so far ahead that, I would find it would be very difficult for them to lose from this position. They can happen, right? Both players are even on cards. Run for Red's position is kind of fragile, and Glad Beast, in a top deck situation without protection, can be rough. But yeah, Ring here for the Jiu-Jitsu Master. I'm surprised they didn't banish the Jiu-Jitsu Master, because that's a rock. So that is surprising to me. I would not have... And I guess they tried to deal with the things that could out the Kaiku, but I feel like you want to just get rid of the rocks. But yeah. Dark Calling and Caius, yep, that's gonna be the end of the game. So yeah, nothing they can do there. Red did a very good job of keeping them off darks and or keeping them off fiends and rocks and grave. But yeah, I mean that was just critical misplay. That was just very very rough with the Doom Cal Jane. That was just brutal. That was so brutal. Yeah, that was just. I mean, that was. Oh man. I mean, that happens though. People do, make mistakes, and it is something that happens, right? Like brain farts are things that happen, and not really much you can do besides just moving on and going for it. Final countdown on turn 13 here. It seems like PJ is playing frogs, junk frogs. Very cool. Kai's banishing a back row there. Getting out of the picture. But they do not have the milk on, so it's just the final countdown there. The final countdown seems to be doing work, right? They've taken 2,000 damage from that. And so they've taken it. It's just like, will they be able to go the full distance? It looks like a battle phase is happening, so swap is coming down here. End main phase 1, seems like threatening roar. Yep, makes sense. If I was PJ, I would bounce the Kai's with the swap. There it goes. Yep. So, good play there. Now you get to recur that with the Treeborn Frog, summon out Kai's. And yeah, they're doing pretty good. Oh, they're not. Okay, it might be Dust Shoot. That'd be a thing that I would guess. It's got to be some, card that you can use here. Okay, Sangang coming down, trying to crash with the swap, it looks like. And that will indeed go through. Maybe searching out a Battle Fader. So that'll be good for Gabu Blondie. There's the Battle Fader. Main phase 2 setting 1. So we know that set is not a Dust Shoot. Because if it was Dust Shoot, they would have fired it on the Battle Fader. I don't know what that set is. I feel like I'm not sure what I would set in this situation to shut off my own Treeborn Frog. Looks like they do have Infernal Prodigy. So that will still get out the Caius. So they can banish the set card there. To Waboku. Okay. I am just curious why they did this. Oh, Miracle Fusion. Why? I don't get why they set that, though. Because, like, it's just shutting off Treeborn for no reason, right? Like, you want to bait out, like, a heavy? Like, I don't know. That was interesting. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You kind of get a wash in that turn anyways, so, yeah. You know about Battle Fader, so you do have to be worried about that. It could be over if Yulani has enough ways to stop here. Does PJ have an out to the back row? It looks like they do, so Raigeki Break coming down, popping that set. Just a jar. But that means that they might not have other battle stoppers besides the Battle Fader. So, will they be able to attack in Battle Fader here, and then will Yulani have enough for things in the future here? I bet you attack in, bait out the Fader, and then because they have to fade here because you've got lethal on board. I feel like you do this after. I feel like you don't do this now. Because now you don't have, well, you do still have lethal, but if you banish the Battle Fader, then they don't have another monster there. So it's like, I mean, maybe they still have lethal on the following turn, but like, I mean, there's not a reason to do that, right? Has Mirror Force been used? Mirror Force has not been used, but there's the Woku. And that'll be the end of game 1. I mean, I don't think the Kai's thing really mattered in the end there, but it is just, I feel like I would have banished the Fader just to banish it. Anywho, yeah, charge is very, very good. So charge definitely need to be hit, as Soul mentions. Let's watch Run for Red versus Hoy, see what they're on. Run for Red we know is on Glad Beast. Hoy is on something. They got traps. Mirror Force, but meeting a My Body as a shield. That's not going to be good for Hoy here. They're going to be taking a fair bit of damage, and those Cloud Beasts will get to tag out. So, yeah, that's kind of rough. The power of Mbass. My Body is shield. Looks like the Laquari's going to tag out. What's going to tag into a Bestie makes sense. Popping that back row there, or attempting to. Will it be a bottomless? Will it be something they can use here? Nope, just a Book of Life. Unfortunate set, but they don't have any zombies engraved, so yeah, it's kind of rough there. Also, I don't think Run for Red, yeah, no monster in Run for Red's grave. Gladbeasts don't really play with a lot of cards in grave most of the time, except if they're doing like a Prisma play, setting up a Darius, but like, yeah, it's gonna be rough. Tagging out the quest for a quarry, setting one, passing back, and not looking good for Hoy here. Not looking good. I mean, it seems like they don't have the zombies, right? Yeah, it's going to be on to game 2. So a bit of a quicker game 2 than on the other side of the aisle here. And let's see if they're done siding. Okay, looks like they're done siding. So we're into game 2 here. Again, I do think that this is relatively... Like, there are a bunch of side deck options for things like Final Countdown. So we'll have to see if PJ gets into those. They're going to go for Swap Frog, send Treeborn, set 1, and pass. So that set, to me, screamed Raigeki Break, screamed Dust Shoot, screamed maybe even Royal Decree. It has to be important enough that you actually would commit this. DD Word Lady coming down, attacking into the Swap Frog. That will go through. Are they going to banish? Are they not? Okay, they're not going to banish. Interesting choice. I probably would have banished there. But, I mean, I don't know. You never know what they're going to do. And it looks like they're going to pass on that. Is that a Raigeki Break there? Are they going to use it? Looks like they are not. Stratos coming down, though, so that'll be pretty good. Figure out searching out Prodigy, probably. I would guess. Oh, Ocean. Ocean works, too. But you're not being able to loop the Stratos there, so. This, to me, implies they've got a Prodigy in hand already. Because I feel like Prodigy is the better card here. But maybe they don't. Maybe they're switching to this sort of a hero beat build here. Maybe they got Alias. Alias could be an option as well. Want to recycle the Alias with the Ocean, but yeah, looks like they're setting 1. Is PJ going? Nope. Okay, no Raigeki Break in end phase. Might be Decree. It very well could be Decree. Trap. No! Why? No! Why? Oh, bad order. Bad order. Yep, you don't want to activate Trap Stun first. You want to activate Trap Stun in response to the set. If they go Solemn here, you are fine with that, because Solemn halves the life points. So it does get out Treeborn Frog here, sure. But, I mean, if they don't have a Infernal Prodigy, then that was what they should have gone for there. Vanity Fiend coming down, but, like, that was kind of an awkward... I mean, yeah, Ocean was not the search then with Stratos, unless they started out of the Evil Hero Inferno Prodigies. So, yeah, that's just kind of rough. I mean, Fiend will be decent, right? Fiend will be able to stop things, but, like, that was not the... I mean, MST here will be good, potentially putting in work, hitting a T-Roar early, so that's good. But, like, oh, that hurt to see. Thunder of Ruler coming down, standby. Main 1. Yeah, I mean, they can go for... Oh, they can't go for Frog because Fiend, but, you know, Fiend's is pretty good. Fiend basically restricts them to only trap stuff. Alias coming down. So I guess the Ocean was for recycling the Alias when the Alias dies, but, like, I still feel like Prodigy would have been better if you have Fiend in hand. Because it just makes you more versatile with the Trap Stun, and you want to take any turn you can to do damage. And that was just kind of rough. Looks like Ivalani's setting 2, passing back. Thunder of Ruler and standby. So at least you don't have to worry about playing into Mirror Force, but yeah, that was rough. It's always rough seeing things like that. But again, it's much easier to watch than to play. So, Swap Frog coming down, sending a monster from deck to grave here. Which might just be Treeborn to deck thin. Dupe, that works too. Just deck thinning here, honestly. Are they going to bounce back to hand? They might. I wouldn't hate bouncing it back to hand. can also bounce back Fiend if you want to, but like that's kind of like not the best. Like enables you to get like Frog next turn, but like what are you triggering Frog for but Fiend, right? Like, so I don't think the bouncing Fiend makes sense here. But they can mount the Alias, sure, that works. I don't know why, but maybe pitch it with a Raigeki Break or something to then get it back with Ocean. But it's just kind of awkward. Okay, there's the Jar. So Jar draws 1. Okay, Exiled Force coming down. Exiled Force popping the Fiend. This implies that they might have a Battle Stopper in hand that they don't want the Fiend to come for. The set card there will ride because, you know, nothing to do on Giovanni's field here. This implies definitely like a Battle Fader in hand. Maybe a Gores even. But looks like Ocean coming down. And it looks like they're going to be attacking in. Swap in first in case Gores. Do you attack into Gores here or do you leave it? Looks like they're going to attack into the Gores if there is a Gores. It looks like there will not be a Gores. Okay, the Gores bluff. So they wrote out the Gores bluff. Bouncing back the swap to hand makes sense. You don't want them just summon out of Sangin and crash into swap like they did last game. And that Ocean will be able to add back an Alias here. Setting 1, will that get braked? It did get braked, so pitching the Alias, popping the back row, hitting a Scapegoat, so pretty good to hit there. Standby phase, adding back the Alias. Oh, maybe they got rid of the Fiend because of the Scapegoat. That could be an option as well. Honestly, if I was going to be Villani, I probably would have just activated Scapegoat here. Because, like, what does PJ do to eat through that? When, like, especially because you think that they have a Raigeki Break set. Like, I feel like that was a misplay on Villani's part. But we'll see what PJ does in this situation. Also, no Treeborn coming back is interesting as well. I probably would have just brought back Treeborn to have it. But yeah, there's the Battle Fader. So they do have a way to stop it anyways. But you could maybe have the read that that's a new card drawn, unless Villani was sort of nickel and diming the damage that they took. But yeah, that Battle Fader is going to sit there. And PJ is going to pass back. I wonder if they're worried about their Frog getting banished by like something like a Warrior Lady, right? I would not take that fear. I would not be too afraid of that because I don't know. I feel like it probably is fine if that happens overall. No reason to bounce back here. They're thinking about it, but I don't think there's a reason to bounce back. The only reason, if you're worried about Mirror Force, you just accomplish the same thing by switching a monster to defense. So, like, I don't think there's a reason to bounce back here. It just sets you back a turn as well. Unless you're worried about TT and you want to summon out something else, I guess. But, like, I feel like, yeah, it's just leave it, you know. But, yeah. Swap coming down. Swap gonna mill. What are they gonna bin? Also, no Treeborn again. I don't know why they're not bringing back the Treeborn. It's just sort of free value, unless they're worried about clogging their zones. You can't ban a Junk Synchron. You can't do that. That's not... Okay, looks like they misclicked there. So it looks like they're milling Swap Frog and sending back the Junk. Yep, makes sense. Because you can't do that. Shuffling up. And, I mean, I think you attack in here. The question is, you switch the... I switch the Ocean defense probably, but, like, what are the odds it's Mirror Force? Yeah, it's T-Roar. Or Frozen Soul. Yeah, sure. That also explains why they took the damage from the swap in Ocean to turn on Frozen Souls. Main 2 swap, adding itself back to hand. And end phase. I hope they bring back the Treeborn next turn. Because I do think it is very important. Like, I mean, it's just another body on board, right? Worst case scenario, bouncing back with Frog, like Swap Frog. But Treeborn gets over Battle Fader. So it's just another attack in. But yeah, will they bring back the Treeborn in the standby here? I hope they do. Because it's just a free attack over a Battle Fader. They're going to bounce back the Ocean for whatever reason. I don't know why they did that. trying to think of why they would do that. Maybe they want discard fodder, but like, oh, they're specialing the swamp. Okay, makes sense. Specialing the swamp so they contribute for like a Caius or something. Makes sense. But you know, you wouldn't have to do this if you just bring back Treeborn Frog. So like, I don't know why they're not bringing back Treeborn Frog. Like, I guess this gets the Ocean Grave, but you don't need Ocean Grave because it's from Field or Grave. So you can just like I don't understand why they're doing it in this particular way. Yeah, I don't understand why they did it that way. But again, you know, it's easier for me watching than for them playing, right? Like that's what I always say, and it is very true. I mean, they'd search out Fader here. But like, so if the Treeborn Frog had been got instead of the like if Treeborn Frog had been brought back, then it would have attacked over Fader. You'd have an extra attack with like, I mean, anyway, the Fader's coming out either way, but like it still would have been extra attack if that was not Sangan. You would have I don't know. I feel like it was just a missed opportunity. But again, like I feel like they're in a good spot. I think people have gone through a lot of their straw cards. They're getting to a countdown like in 2 turns with the Gold Sark, but will that be enough? I don't think so. It could very well be enough, but I think it'll be a bit of a tough ask to get there. PJ has ways to counter what's there. Looks like Zero Garden is coming down. So if that rides, then it will be able to block some damage. That's only if it rides. It looks like Raigeki Break coming down, pitching the dupe, targeting the Zero Gardener. And now please bring back the Treeborn. If you bring back the Treeborn, it's lethal damage. If you don't, it's not. Okay, it's... no. Because Treeborn Frog attacks over Fader, buffs up the 0. If they have another monster in hand, it's also lethal. I guess Miracle Fusion will work too. But it's just like... I don't know. There wasn't the like. I feel like bring back the Treeborn is value left on the table. Prodigy, yeah, Prodigy can attack over 2, but like, I feel like it, yeah. Anyways, yeah, there's another Fader, so it didn't matter ultimately too much, but like, still, I feel like it's just there's value left on the table every turn here, so it's like kind of iffy. At least it's a buff for your zeros. Like, it's, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and Yubelon needs scooping it up because they do not have enough stall to last 20 turns after they get the final countdown. Let's do Run for Red versus Wagamuffin. So it seems like Prada won against Hoy and is facing off against Wagamuffin now. Who would have thought that the upper bracket would go quicker than the lower bracket where someone's playing a final countdown deck? So that's how it happens sometimes. So Wagamuffin probably playing Lightsworn. Yep, looks like they're playing Lightsworn. And Run for Red playing GB. This will be a very exciting matchup, I think. There's the Rhoda. Rhoda coming down, searching probably a Jane. Maybe a Garoth. I don't know. There's the Garoth. Yep, so it's a Garoth indeed. And there is the Mills off that Card Trooper. So 1, 2, 3. Milling Gore's. Obviously, Gore's not really what you want to mill, but that is 4 names engraved, so that is kind of nice. Also, Lumina engraved's nice too, because you can Lumina pitch, bring back Lumina, Lumina pitch, bring back something else. So that's also kind of good. Potentially getting into Jane. Kind of rough into Quarry, especially with an unknown back row. Wonder what normal summon will be if they got one. Looks like Garoth's going to be the normal summon. And Run for Red's thinking about that. They are going to bottomless that. I think that does make some sense because Honest is a scary card. And And if they're doing this, it's likely they've got Honest. So I think that makes sense. There are 4 names engraved, though. So it could mean a JD's coming down here to attack over to the Quarry and get in for 19 with Trooper. Or just pop the Trooper. You can pop the Trooper and the Quarry to, get a draw and also make it so that Glad Beasts don't have a monster to attack into. So it looks like Wagamut's just going to set one, though. Pass back. So no JD, seems like, yet. I do feel like it would have been a good play to just go JD, wipe the board, attack in for 3K. But I don't hate this, too. If they got JD, they might want to be taking it slow. But, yeah. They probably have Honest in hand. Like, that is a very strong read, I think, that you can have. With Honest and Clue being at 3, do you think Mind Crush has potential to side deck choice? I do think it has potential, yeah. I think Mind Crush can be very good, especially because they're 3 charge, right? Chart of the Light Brigade searches out a card. Mind Crush very good against searchers, right? Black Whirlwind searches out a card. Mind Crush very good against that. Like, I think Mind Crush is really, really good. I think it would be very good in this format. So, yep, I think that's a very wise point by Loose Bell there. But yep, they're going to attack over the Card Trooper and then attack directly with the Laquari. And it looks like both those will go through, which means 2 tag outs here if everything goes well for Wagamuffin. Or not for Wagamuffin, for Run for Red. And Run for Red actually thinking about this. Probably thinking about whether to tag out into a potential Bottomless or TT. But you could argue that TT would have come down when the Darius was summoned. But yeah, there's the Ready Ari. And that's why you do the TT when the Darius was summoned as opposed to now. I'm thinking about this. And they're asking the target. Target's probably going to be one of the 4 Lightsworn names here. I would personally go either probably Jane or Lumina. But with Honest in hand, it could be a wash either way. But yeah, I think Jane or Lumina are the best there because Lumina gets you into other things and sets up your graveyard even more. And Jane is just a big guy, and Lightsworn have a bit of, or not Lightsworn, Glads have a bit of a tough time against big guys. Looks like Lumina is going to be the pick, so they're going to banish that, or try to, but Beckoning will come down. So Beckoning will indeed be able to add 4 lights from the graveyard there and disrupt that Rediari. Seems like they do need to have Honest. They got Necro and Plague Engraved. That's really good. So they can get back Honest, Lumina, and some others. I feel like I'd go Honest, Lumina, Jane, maybe Lila, maybe Arcus. I think Arcus or Lila is a good option for the last one. But also, either way, Lumina can get into whatever Lightsworn you want engraved. So, yeah, there's Jane, and then the choice is just Arcus or Lila. I think they both do similar things. Lila does put you at risk of just a Glad Beast running in and killing it. So that is a bit of a rough one. But you could argue that Arcus also does that because Arcus has low attack. So, yeah, it looks like they're going to grab the Lila. I think that does make sense. Yeah. And the hand is now known exactly as Lumina, Honest, Jane, Lila. But that is a pretty good hand to have, all things considered. Also with a Necro engraved to block an attack, Plague to make some plays. It's looking very good for Wagamuffin. Of course, the Quest will be able to come down and get that Laquari there. And, give him more extension. But this is a bit of a scary world to be in, especially when there's no back row, right? So now just Jane attack into either the Quest or the Rediari is a very, good play. And they still got Honest in hand. They've got Necro and Grave. So they don't need to get too fancy here. So the question is, what are they going to do? They could also go Lumina. No, because Lumina can't get over Rediari. So, yeah. Yeah, no way to get over both this turn. I feel like Renfred might have a bestie, or a way to get into bestie to go into Geyserus. The Quest is a very interesting choice there. I feel like if I was gonna say you could go Darius, bring back Laquari, and then just go into a Herc, but that didn't help because then they just Honest over the Herc. So it wouldn't really matter there. Looks like Lumina is going to be the choice to come down here. pitching a card from hand and probably bringing it back. So yeah, pitching the Jane, targeting the Jane. And you can indeed do this because Lumina just requires a big Lightsworn monster engrave when you first activate the effect. So you can pitch a Lightsworn monster and then target that same Lightsworn monster as long as you already have a Lightsworn monster engraved to mean that you're guaranteed to have a viable target with Lumina. But yeah, bring back Jane makes sense. Jane attack over like maybe a quest, maybe Ready Ari. And then you've got Plague to go into a 5 to then get over the other one. You can go into Catastrophe. I think Catastrophe is really good. You could just go into Android to gain life and also just be a light monster on your field. So there's a couple options here. I think either one is viable. I personally would probably go Catastrophe, and looks like they are too, because the idea here is that like if you only have one light monster on field, if they attack into it and you honest, and like they potentially have a way to get over another monster in your field, Catastrophe kind of shuts that down. However, you could argue that like someone like Geyserus is dark, I believe. So that would be able to get over Catastrophe. I don't know if Herc is dark. Herc might not be dark. I could be wrong. But yeah, Jane will be milling here. So, milling into a wolf is very nice. So bringing out that wolf. Although this does run into the problem that I mentioned before, where if they've got ways to get over, attack into one, bait out the honest, and then try and attack over the other, then you're in trouble a bit. But Necro is engraved, so Necro can stop the other attack, and then it's kind of a rough spot for Glads to be in. Yeah, just set in one passing. I mean, that to me screams Raikou. It's definitely a Raikou. Or no, it can't be. I don't think Glads play Raikou. So yeah, it wouldn't be a Raikou. Could be a Plomus. I think it's kind of awkward though, and Catastrophe can beat into it. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna just attack him with Samnite. Seems like Runford might have too many Glad Beast monsters in hand, which I mentioned earlier is a bit of a problem for the Glad Beast deck. In that you oftentimes just draw into your monsters or draw into your spell traps, but you don't draw into a mix of the two, and that's when the deck really suffers. So looks like Jane coming down, milling 2 here. Milling a Trag. Seems like Magnum does play Trag. Seems like there's sort of a Chaos Lightsworn sort of build, which I am a fan of the Chaos Lightsworn build. I think it's fun. Chaos Sworn, And if I was playing in the monthly tournament that's happening later, I probably would play the style of deck. Unfortunately, I've got a super busy week coming up, so I think it just is infeasible for me to play in the tournament, unfortunately, as much as I want to, because I do like to join the monthly tournaments when I have the opportunity. But I don't think I'll be able to join in this one, which is sad. It'll be the first one covering a new format in a while that I've actually not been able to go into. But yep, Twilight, that's another name for it as well. Twilight's a great name too. Like Lightsworn or just Twilight itself. I do like Chaos War. I think Chaos War's neat too, but that just might be my own weird quirk with calling it that. But yeah, I think Twilight is definitely the general community name for it. Twilight's Sworn, the best Twilight movie. Yeah, I think it beat out Breaking Dawn and Eclipse for sure. I never read the Twilight books or watched the movies really, which I don't know if that, I don't know if people care about that. People used to care about that a lot back when they were big. Feels kind of weird saying they're big nowadays, because I feel like the idea of a big franchise has changed. Now you've got big superhero franchises and stuff like DC Marvel stuff. Whereas way back when, you had Twilight, and Twilight was its own thing. It's an original idea from a book series, and it was pretty good. Book on the Lila there makes sense because can't do anything about that, and that's going to be the end of the game. So yeah, makes sense there. And let's see the other game going on. If PJ and Claudia are still playing, or they might not be. Nope, they're still playing. Unless that game just wrapped up, which it might have. Yeah, it looks like the game just wrapped up. Probably. Maybe not. I don't see it here, which is... yeah, I think it wrapped up. I would guess it wrapped up. Or there's some technical difficulties. But, yeah, we get the idea of that matchup. It's just yeah. Okay, it seems like PJ won against Clody. So, uh, yeah, Final Countdown falls, which, most surprising thing I've seen. The thing about like a deck like Final Countdown is I feel like, and I feel like this applies to a lot of stun decks. I know stun decks have had success in the past in Lightsworn events, but the issue with stun is that it's kind of like once the cat's out of the bag about it, it becomes a lot worse because stun decks are very easily side deckable against, right? And maybe you play one or two games within the tournament where the side deck doesn't come into play, right? Your opponent's side in decrees or other things to stop your stun stuff, and they just don't get to it, right? And you're able to win despite them siding against you, right? Or playing differently as well. That can happen, right? And you'll have some success there. But I will say that like there will be a fair amount of games where your opponent does draw into the outs that they put into their side deck for you. They will be playing differently enough that like they will be able to maneuver around what you're doing and win the game, right? And even if it's like particularly good against a specific style of deck, like it's good against Lightsworn because Lightsworn mills itself, and like so even if you don't get the final countdown stuff, you get the mill clock, which we saw in game 1 of Artos versus Clody. It just doesn't have the power against the wide field of decks that people are going to be bringing most of the time. So I generally like if you want to play stun decks, you can play stun deck, right? I'm not like a stun hater. Or like, why are you playing that deck? Don't play that deck at all. I just do think that like people who view it as a like tier 1 competitively viable strategy, I feel like that's not quite the case with the deck. I could be wrong about that. I've not played too much of this format yet, even though I want to. But to me, once you reach this stage in the game's history, I feel like stun decks have a lot of trouble actually being competitive. Final Countdown guy just got eliminated. We unfortunately did not see the final game that they lost there. We did watch, I believe, we saw the end of game 1 of that, and then we saw game 2. They were up against Frogs, and Frogs can very easily deal with Final Countdown decks, especially post-siding. So, yeah, Final Countdown guy has fallen, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective on that. But we got Glad versus Lightsworn here, and then we'll be having a game of PJ versus Clemens here. PJ is on the Frog deck. We don't know what Clemens is on. We actually have not seen Clemens play yet so far, but I'm excited to see what they're on because they always bring interesting stuff. Last Lightsworn Locals was actually Plant, so I would like to see that again, especially because I think they might have, like, I hate to say fumbled because, like, I don't, again, like, it's a lot easier watching than actually playing. But there was a line they could have done to win a game, and they didn't do. They're slightly off, and then their opponent cracked back and killed them. So it was kind of rough to watch that because I love Plants. I think that they're very, very cool deck, and it would have been cool to see them go further. But maybe they're playing that. Maybe they're playing something else. We had Gores with an Unchained token. That's very neat. Yeah, Ready Ari is going to tag out, so you can go into like a Merm if you want to. Merm, pop, Gores. You can also just go into Best. Well, Bestie's awkward because you pop your own back row, so you don't necessarily want to go into Bestie. But I think Merm is good. Merm, pop, Gores, and then like they've got a token 1600, so like it's not the best thing for the world in them. And then you just go into Quarry. Maybe the Merm gets run over, but then Darius can always bring it back. So like not the worst thing in the world. You just lose access to that in your deck. But you do have back row there, so maybe the back row helps. Think about the token though. The token is light. So that can be used with Honest. So fun fact there. And that's something you have to worry about, actually, in future turns, because they're very likely going to switch the token to attack, try and attack over the Merm. And you could argue that maybe they're just doing that because, they want to get over the Merm, or they could be doing it because they have Honest in hand. They're wanting to bait you into attacking the token. So, yeah, a lot of interesting synergies with Gores and Lightsworn. I do like it in the deck. Even if it's not the best to wind up in Grave, I think it is pretty good. But it is pretty good in Grave if you're playing the Twilight variant like Wagamuffin seems to be doing. So, let's see what Wagamuffin does from here. And then after this game wraps up, we'll dive into Clemens versus PJ. And hopefully that game will be going on. We've missed a fair amount of games because we've happened upon games that have taken a little bit longer. But I think this has been a fun event either way. Semifinals, pretty good to get here. Jane coming down. token getting switched to attack, so Jane can crash in with the Laquari. Token can crash into the Merm. Is there going to be a Woboku in that back row? Nope, Merm is dying. Is the Laquari going to die as well? Nope, the book will set down the Jane, so the Laquari will live. And also, well, Wagman won't get to mill here either way, but at least the Laquari can attack over the set Jane, tag out into something else. But Merm is engraved. No Merm to tag into. Yeah, that's kind of rough. And no back row for Bestiari tag out. So that is kind of a rough position to be in. Not gonna lie. Also, if Honest in hand, you're in like a really bad spot, because even if you attack over the set instead of the token, they still have Honest in hand. And Honest is a really annoying card for Glads to deal with, because it's not something that's really telegraphed all too often, and it can be very tricky to play around. Darius coming down here, so either way, they'll attack into the Jane, probably. I mean, it is another Lightsworn name engraved, but like I think it makes sense to do. Can't tag out with that, so I think they wanted to go to battle and do stuff with that. But yeah, they're going to go Darius into the token, try and bait out an Honest here, it looks like. If I was Wagmuffin, I mean, it would depend on my hand. With, like, if I've got, well, one, if I've got Honest, right? But two, if I've got other monsters, I might want to save Honest for those other monsters, because the token's just a beat stick, honestly. So, yeah, and they're going to attack over the Jane there, and get 2 tag outs. So, looks like Darius going back first, because then the Laquari can tag out into the Darius, and so, yeah, what I would do here is Darius into Laquari, and then Laquari into Darius, bring back Merm, shuffling that back to then go into a Heraclino, so that way you get Merm back into deck, back into rotation. You have Heraclinos to negate spell traps. You've got a background to hopefully protect the Heraclinos against a monster coming out and trying to attack over with Honest. Although maybe you have the read that they don't have Honest because they didn't use it on the token. And yeah, I think that is, I think that would be the play that I would do personally. But I think there's also something to be said for going wide, so that way you don't just lose to an Honest. And also they're going to go to Rediari here, which I don't think is bad. It does banish a name from grave, so it makes Judgment Dragon less live. So yeah, I don't think this is bad at all. Run for Red thinking about which one to banish, though. I would probably banish, it looks like they banished the Garroth. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I would banish maybe the Jane, personally, because Garroth doesn't do anything on its own. But if they do Lumina into Garroth, then that's kind of annoying. But Garroth can't get over the Laquari, so... yeah, the thing about whether to tag out the Laquari now, it's, yeah. I don't know, it looks like there's going to set 1 pass. I think that does make sense. I don't think there's something that you really want to tag out the Laquari for right now. Maybe you go Quest to get Merm back in hand. That is an option. That's maybe a good option, but, like, then you lose to, like, Lila running it over. So, of course, Heavy coming down here will make it so that Lila coming down, attacking him with Rediari will, you know, be problematic either way. Book down the Rediari. I mean, sure, less damage, I guess. But, yeah, Lumina coming down. Lumina pitching, probably for Jane. But now Lumina can hit over the Rediari, so that's not ideal, right? So maybe saving the book would have been better. So, yeah, now the entire board's getting cleared. And that's going to be rough. So, maybe not the best book. But... I mean, it's specifically for this situation, right? So, I do like Garroth. Garroth is very fun. I think it's like a very neat card in the deck. It allows for further extension. Oh, my word. Wow. Yep, double wolf off that mill is going to be pretty good. Yep, that's going to be pretty good. But yeah, I think it's really cool. It just can get a bunch of mills going and also a lot of draws going, so it replenishes your hand, gives you more options there. And I think having cards that mill in different ways is kind of neat for Lightsworn to have, so... But yeah, Run for Red just setting 2, passing back. Yeah, it's not looking good. Full Run for Red. Looks like this might be the end of the road for Glads. Kind of a rough time into the Lightsworn. Delilah coming down. If that's TT, then, you know, Run for Red is very happy. If it's not, they're probably pretty sad. Yeah, War Chariot, not going to do much, unfortunately. I mean, if that's a Plomus, then it's going to be pretty good. Oh, never mind. Okay, yep, Chaos Orc. Yep. And now Sork into the set. And then attacking in for 5,200. Yeah, just a Psychitor. Oof, rough stuff. Not that, like, the book would have changed much here, right? Oh, TT's gone. Yes, you're right. You are correct. Yep. Thank you for pointing that out, Papa Perez. Yeah, so no worry about that. And even if it was TT, like with the Stork in hand, like extension, but yeah, you're correct. They didn't even need to worry about that. But yeah, GG's indeed. Yeah, Lightsworn, pretty good in this format. Potentially a reason why the forum's named after it. So Wagman will be one of the finalists, and let's check in on who might be the other finalist, if I can find that game there. Clemens versus PJ. Clemens winning game 1. PJ going first in game 2, though. Going for a Rotor for Stratos. Stratos for a search, it looks like. I didn't see what they searched, but I would assume probably Prodigy or Alias. I would assume. Like, they're playing like Hero Frogs, so Raigeki would be pretty fun. But yeah, if only Raigeki was in this format, that'd be neat. 1-for-1 coming down, so pitching a Treeborn, maybe going into a Substitute. That'd be what I would go for at least. And then Substitute, Tribute Stratos. Doing your Frog combo here. They're thinking. I would just slam down Substitute Tribute Stratos. Because you don't necessarily, like, the thing about Frogs is that you don't necessarily need to play for damage. You generally want to start by playing for, like, advantage, setting up your board and going for that. As opposed to just, like, poking in. They're going to tribute the Substitute itself. I would not have done that, but I guess they want to get the swap bounce the Stratos and get that effect off again. I don't feel like that's necessary. I feel like just setting up double dupe is just, like, pretty good, right? I don't know what Clemens is playing. Maybe Clemens has a way to deal with that, but, like, a lot of decks have a lot of trouble with double dupe. Well, TD would deal with that either way, so it doesn't quite matter. But yeah, swap mark will still get a mill, so it's still some value there. I'm curious why they didn't TT on the swap or on the Substitute when they didn't declare Prio, right? Because Clemens or PJ did that okay, and that would be asking about Prio because like the 1-for-1 was not negated, right? So it's not like you can solemn the summon of the Substitute. Miracle Fusion coming down though, and that's going to banish a Stratos and a Unifrog there. Poor Unifrog. I like Unifrog. I feel like it's a good card in general, but yeah, they're probably waiting to torrential away the dupe block. I do think that makes sense. But yeah, it just gets PJ value though, right? Because when they're going towards the dupe block, they're bringing out swap frogs to mill more, right? Like they're setting up their grave really well, right? So like I feel like you want to TT before they get that grave set up. Even if TTing the dupe block is kind of nice. But yeah, I personally would just slam it once the Substitute came down. They didn't use Prio. Mirror Force on the Ab-Zero is pretty good here. Trades 1-for-1. The Ab-Zero doesn't get any of Clemens' board. So yeah, pretty good. But PJ's still in a decent spot. Not going to lie. Treeborn is in rotation. I don't know why they didn't bring back Treeborn. I feel like Treeborn in defense is fine. Buffs up the Ab-Zero, and TT's gone now, so they could just do that. Look at they're bringing out an Ocean, just setting a back row, passing back. Dust Shoot. Ooh. Ooh. Dust Shoot is going to be nasty. Dust Shoot. I can't wait for this thing to be banned. I hate Dust Shoot so much with a burning passion. I know it's not going to be banned for the entirety of the 5Ds era. Happens later, but ugh, this thing is nasty. Okay, they've got a Bottomless Trap Hole, a Book of Moon, a Caius, a Please. I'm curious what Please is. And then Skilled Rain, maybe? I wonder if that's skill. So this might be a stun deck. Like, yeah. But, yeah, that is a pretty good hand. That's a lot of interaction there. You can do a lot. So this must be Please. Whatever Please is. Because you can't set Caius, obviously. But Skilled Rain getting activated makes sense. And that's going to shut off the Ocean. Again, I don't know why you don't bring back Treeborn. Like, it's just free value on the table that's being lost, right? I'm very curious. March 2012. So we're 2 years away. We're 2 years away. Because right now, Lightsworn is in 2010. So we're getting there. Slowly but surely. Let's go. I can't wait. Yeah, I've been going more slowly than surely lately. But I don't know what Please is. I assume that Please is the set. I don't know what Clemens is playing. If they're playing a stun type of deck, then what would that be? Like, what would they have to set? Snowman Eater is something that stun decks play, but, that wouldn't be labeled Please. Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master, something that they play as well. Wouldn't be low please either. Oh, Plague Spreader Zombie. That makes sense. Yep, Plague Spreader Zombie. And that does play around Skill Drain because you can use it in Grave. I believe it still gets banished. I think it still gets banished. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that when you tribute it, when it's brought back by its effect, it does get banished. But I could be wrong. But yeah, so now Clemens can stack for Plague. Caius out. Not banish anything, but just have a big guy on board to attack in. Not terrible. Not the best thing in the world either, but like not terrible. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't know exactly what they want to do. Oh, Cider. Okay, Cider's good enough. Yep. Looks like they checked and they did shuffle. So yeah, sometimes just DB, DB, and DB, but also if you're playing a ton of Sidras, then yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Papa Perez. That's why I think it gets banished as well. Because like Skill Drain only negates effects that happen on field. Or like it negates the effect of all face-up monsters while they are face-up on field. So if the condition for Plague happens like when it activates in Graveyard, it seems like the condition would stick around as opposed to being negated by the Skill Drain. Also, I feel like if that was a thing that you could do, I feel like Skill Drain Plague combos would be much more common in past formats, right? Like there'd be decks built around just Skill Drain with Plague and like just getting that infinite recursion off, right? So, yeah, I don't think the Plague will go back to Grave if that happens. There is Prodigy into probably a Monarch. Oh, into Malicious Edge. Okay. So Malicious Edge coming down. That can be into the side right here. Dealing 500 damage. Dropping Clemens to an even half. And then the Prodigy will be able to use its effect because it was tributed this turn and that effect activated in Grave. So then you get to draw a card. So, how will Clemens deal with the Malicious Edge? Now, you can potentially deal with it with Book and Caius, but that does play badly into the back row. So, what do you do here? Because if you do Book Caius, right, you stack the third card in your hand for Plague, tribute out for Caius, book down the Malicious Edge, attack over it. That's committing so much into an unknown back row, and then you're draw locking yourself for next turn. So, I think that is very much a debate. Like, do you go for that play or do you like hold off a bit? I think what you could also do is you could set Book here and then wait for the Malicious Edge to attack. And when it tries to attack, you book it down and then set up for the Caius play on the following turn. That has its own risks, but I do think it's less risky than, oh, well, this is just the end of the game. So yeah, I mean, I think setting, I don't think they'd used up Book, right? They used Bottomless Trap Hole to deal with Alias, right? So, yeah. That was a rough one for them. Is this the only game going on? Yeah, this is the only game going on. So let's just stick with that. Let's see, Clemens and PJ. Here we go. And on to the all-important game 3. Okay, let's see how this one goes. Yeah, I don't think Skill Drain's the best. I'm kind of surprised they kept it in. Because maybe they only saw the frog part of PJ's deck in game 1, and so they were like, okay, I'm playing against frogs. But even then, it's not really the best. It shuts off the Monarchs, but like Substo contribute itself to bring out a frog. Like Treeborn Frog comes back like all the time anyways. Swap is negated, true. Like you shut off the swap, which is nice, but swap can still summon itself from hand to tribute for a Monarch. So like it's not even the best there. So I don't necessarily know why Skill Drain's kept in here. I feel like there are other things that you could use instead. But maybe Clemens just didn't have enough side deck cards to swap in. And maybe they had just worse things there. So, yeah, exactly. 2400 body is a 2400 body. And so it's like, I don't quite get why they did what they did there. But, I mean, we'll see if they kept that in this game. Because I would not be surprised if they got that out. They're going to just draw 2 with Lure, banish the Kaiku. I think this is telegraphing Gores probably in this style of deck. I'm not sure if you'd play Gores in this style of deck because, I mean, they had Skill Drain in game 2. Like, this seems kind of like conflict there. But maybe if you take out the drains, you're like, okay, Gores can be good here. Or at least they can threaten Gores. But, yeah, it seems like a pretty rough start if it's not Gores in hand. We'll have to see what PJ does here. They might just have, like, Sidra and stuff like that. They don't want to commit monsters to board. They don't have the best spell traps. I don't know. PJ just setting 1 passing. I think that makes sense here. Maybe Raigeki Break. Maybe something else. But Instant Fusion coming down. Okay, that's probably why they didn't do stuff. So they're going instant fusion tributing for a monarch. This like zombie monarchs. So like you bring back the Reaper of the Nightmare with Book of Life, and that's pretty neat. Could just be like the best instant fusion target you got, but yeah, Rise is targeting that back row. Let's see if there's a Raigeki break here. It looks like there will not be a Raigeki break, and that Rise is going to attack in for 2,400. Note that you can't use Book of Life without the opponent having a monster engrave. So, they couldn't, if they've got Book of Life, they couldn't use it to bring back Reaper attack right now. I'm not sure if they're going all in like that, or if they're just using it as like instant fusion bait, just like instant fusion out something, tribute over it. But yeah, that Rise is going to be pretty good here. I mean, PJ might have ways around that, but no back row still, so still bluffing Gores potentially. But now at least PJ has a monster to attack into if they've got a way to deal with it. So we also know that the set was not Raigeki break, because you would 100% Raigeki break a Ryza. Could have been a BrainCon bluff, but like that feels very awkward to me. So yeah, they're just going to take control of the Ryza, probably attack in, try and ban out a Gores, and then maybe tribute for Caius. Reaper plus Plague is also back. That is a good point, yeah. It's a way to get into a Black Rose line, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Ryza making games hard, true. Ryza is a very tricky card here. I feel like even if you got like Kai's or something, you just tribute set. Okay, Vanity's Fiend coming down. So Vanity's Fiend's going to be a little bit annoying for Clemens here. It's kind of interesting. This to me implies they've got a Caius, and they were like, I want to banish the Gores, right? Because otherwise you'd summon out Vanity's Fiend first to play around Gores, play around Battle Fader. I don't know if they're playing Battle Fader, but can't activate Instant Fusion here because Vanity's is up. But yeah, I feel like it would have just been to treat the Ryza last turn. But this to me says they've got Caius, or they've got some other way to deal with monsters like that. So this does reveal a little bit about PJ's hand, in my opinion. But Phoenix Wing coming down, pitching a trap stun, spinning something back. So feeling that trap stun stuff is in there for the floodgate traps, if there are any out there. I feel like Clemens did not have a Gores in hand though, because otherwise you bring out Gores after the Rise attacked in, and be like, well, even if you summon a Kai's here, banish Gores, I take 1,000, but I still have this light token on field that has 2,400 attack. So, I'm going to crash into your Kai's or do something like that. But Clemens setting one here, and I think if PJ did have Kai's, just summon out Kai's, banish the set, attack in for 24. Looks like they're going to attack in here. So this implies to me that they don't have Caius, which is interesting. Because I had a very strong read that they had Caius. Maybe they got Ryza, but you'd still go Ryza, spin back, attack in, right? So this to me implies that they just had Vanities, which makes it kind of interesting that they didn't summon that out over the Ryza and then attack him with that to play around Gores. But, I always say that it's easier to watch and commentate these games than actually play them. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that, maybe they were just, maybe they have it actually, and maybe they didn't see the line last turn. Maybe they weren't thinking about it the turn prior, but Mirror Force will at least clean up the Vanities for Clemens and give them a chance to get back into this game. So, yeah, instant zombies. Yes, I've seen it as well. I think it fell off for a time because I think just other combo decks came up that were a little bit better. But I think it still has legs in a format like this where you've got more Lightsworn options available to you, Charged Light Brigade, things like that. So you get more milling going on. I think it does make sense to play this deck. But yeah, Kai's coming down, banishing that Vanities, and then attacking him for 24 potentially here. Although, do you want to play into a Gorge that PJ might? Oh, well, yeah, you do want to play Gorge that PJ might have because this is just lethal damage. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Gigavize and Forge are just too strong. I think both those decks could be good here as well. So, yeah. So, yep, but that will be the end of the game there. So, yeah, rough stuff for PJ. I think they had a Kai's. So, they must not have had Kai's or anything. They must have just had Vanities because otherwise they would have won with the Kai's, I think. But either way, they're very good stuff. And, yeah, comeback victory, exactly. Way to go. And we get some exciting games here for the final. We got Lightsworn versus Instant Zombies. Two very interesting decks. I feel like those decks are present in Edison, but they're not necessarily at the top of the food chain in Edison. So you don't necessarily see them in the finals of an event like this. But here, we got them there, and we'll have to see how they do. So I'm excited to dive into the game. If I had to guess, I would say that Lightsworn is potentially favored a little bit more, but Lightsworn with the Book of Life and stuff or not Lightsworn, Zombies with the Book of Life could potentially do stuff. I'm going to ask a poll here. Who will win? Will it be Instant Zombies or will it be Lightsworn? Or actually, I'll call it Twilight because technically it is Twilight Sworn because they've got the Chaos package as well. So I started the poll there. I'm curious to see what people think. And yeah, we'll dive into that game whenever it starts. I don't think it's up yet. Could be wrong. Yeah, I don't think it's up yet. It looks like Clem 12 is hosting, so yep. Okay, looks like right now, Instant Zombies has the lead, 67% to 33%. So 2/3 of people lean Instant Zombies. But I'm curious to see how that evolves. I lean Lightsworn, so I guess I'd cast my vote to tie it up. But I think either deck winning would be really fun to see. And I think either deck can win. So I think it would be good to see both of them win. But if this has been fun to you, if you've liked seeing these games and want to try out games for yourself in Lightsworn format, head over to the YGO from Zero Discord server because we're going to be having a monthly tournament starting in an hour after the locals ends. And the monthly tournament will be multi-day. So you'll have 48-hour rounds to schedule with people. And so it should be more accommodating to people who can't necessarily sit down and play a tournament in one sitting. But so that'll be fun if you want to join in that as well. Prada said they believe in the heart of the cards with zombies. I could believe it. I could see it working. But yeah, Lightsworn probably favored a little bit. But listen, heart of the cards and the power of friendship, undead friendship, can maybe bring zombies to the win there. Seems like Wagmo is not joined yet. But hopefully we can get them going here. Okay, looks like the game has started. Let's go. We're off to the races. Ready to go. Raring to go. Let's see who will win. Okay, looks like Wagmuffin's starting here. We missed the good luck, have fun, unfortunately. Sad to see it, but I'm glad that someone said it, you know. There goes the Lila, milling 3 in the end phase. So let's see what they mill. Anything good? 2 names and a dad. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Not the dad, obviously, but like the 2 names is very good. And dad's kind of dead at this point in the game, unless you have a way to easily get the Darks Engrave that you need. So, yeah. Loseball says, I love zombies, so I'm rooting for them no matter what. And that's very fair, because zombies is a very, very cool deck. And I feel like zombies, like, they have never really had their full time in the sun, right? I think Lightsworn format is sort of where they're at their best, because you've got the milling for them. But I feel like in the retro community, like they're always the underdog, you know, so it'd be cool if they actually managed to win this one. But Lila into a legacy that draws the card. Clemens has the Krebins here, which is annoying to attack into. This might just be it for I'm certain. Nope, they're going to go for Rhoda. Rhoda for either Garroth or Jane, if they've got another Garroth in deck. But yeah, it looks like they're going to get Jane. I feel like you don't stack up on like too many Garroths, so that makes sense to me. But yeah, Jane attacking in, just trying to get the life points out off the Krebins, and also to get some mills in rotation. It's going to be 5 mills as opposed to just 3. Shaking their extra deck as well. That is scary to see because the Brain Con. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Question is, do you attack in with Krebins, Jane, or do you go... oh, they're going to go for a 6 first. Makes sense because you get more damage in. Yeah, they're going to go for Goyo here. Yeah, I guess this plays into Gores a bit more, but like it is probably better overall. Maybe the Bagman has a way to deal with Gores. Maybe they've got a Judgment Dragon in hand, and Jane is the last name there. So, Goyo can also attack over Gores. So like you just have to worry about the token crashing into the Goyo. But yeah, Jane milling 2, milling an Arcus and a Chaos Orc. That is the 4th name engraved. So JD is online, and that would be pretty disastrous for Clemens if that does come to pass. Clemens setting 2, passing back. Let's see what Wagmuffin does. They might just take it slow here. Oh, Dushy's going to be pretty good here. Potentially sniping away that JD and making it much harder for Wagmuffin to close out the game this turn. Although they are still in a really bad spot. Yeah, probably Aaron. Aaron makes the most sense here. Yep. I would say so. And then leaving them with 3 cards in hand. A Gores, a Pot of Avarice, and a Necrogardna. Pot of Avarice is live. Whether you want to activate it now and send more names back in the deck, that's one thing. You probably do because you're so close to a lethal shot. So like if you get into a charge or if you get into an Aaron, then you win. So I think that does make a lot of sense. Probably shuffle back Dad, Sork, and then 3 names. I don't know which 3 you want to go for. Maybe Celestia, maybe Lila Garoth? Because I feel like Arcus is better in Grave right now. But I don't know. Yeah, Garoth goes, and then maybe I would say Lila probably, but I think either is fine. It's kind of like a personal preference at that point. Yeah, they're gonna leave the Lila in Grave. That's fine. Yeah, and then they get to draw 2. Will they draw into the Aaron? Will they draw into a charge? Either of those do it. Card Trooper, not quite going to do it yet, but it can get things in Grave, which could be good. Like if you get a Plague in Grave, you win that way because you go for a Brio play and bounce back that. But it looks like no Plague in Grave. So this might not be the end of the game. Could be Spirit Reaper. We'll have to see if it is. It looks like it's Spirit Reaper. Okay. Seems like Clemens is still in it. Holding on for dear life, but they're still in it. And we do know the hand now, pretty much. We don't know one card, but we know Gorz and Gardner are in hand. We don't know that last one. So, looks like the Reaper is going to get attributed for a Caius. Is Caius going to banish the Goyo? It looks like it will. You could also argue that you banish the Trooper, but it looks like they're probably just going to attack into Jane here. I would assume. Does put 3 names in Grave, but like Trooper gets a draw here, so it's awkward. Does deal more damage though. Book of Life, that's going to be very good. Book of Life, bring back the Reaper. So that will protect Clemens here for a bit. Getting rid of that JD, getting it out of rotation. So, did they forget to mill 2? I thought they milled 2 in the end phase with the... Oh, they did forget to mill 2. Yes, you're right. So there should be 2 more in Grave. I mean, it should be somewhat correctable. I think that like... Oh, Trag. Ooh. Yes, Trag actually... They have a 3. They've got Necro. Necro's a 3. So Necro, target that. That gets popped. And then... Well, they can't get over the Caius right now, but it still is definitely rough. But yeah, the mill 2 definitely would have happened. I mean, right now it's kind of... It's not quite irreparable, but it's basically irreparable. It's kind of rough. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm okay. It will happen where they'll forget. But yeah, it's good to keep that in mind. Like if you're playing Lightsworn in this format or any other format, just try to keep track of the mills. I mean, I've been there. I've forgotten my mills before, and it's been kind of tough. But it's just good to try and figure that out. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way that you can use Trag to maybe take the Kais or something like that. I don't know if there's a good one. But yeah, this game is really intense, really entertaining. So I'm just happy that it's still going on, even if they did miss the mills. Oh, there's Chaos Work. So yeah, that's probably the end of the game. Not quite, though, because this Trag only has 600 attack. So there's 2,500 damage that can come in here. So it's not quite the end. Looks like Trag will be switched to attack just to have it there. Gore's in hand. Has a monster been normal summons? Is not yet. Actually, I think they missed lethal here because they didn't normal summon. So what you do is you tribute out Gores. You tribute Shork and Trag for Gores and then attack him with Trooper Gores. And that does it. So they missed that, but it still probably is their win. They do get game 1. So it's so satisfying when you tribute over for Gores. Like that's very, very exciting. But yeah, I mean, the mill might have had an effect there because, like, maybe they mill the Shork and then, like, you know, they don't get the Shork to out the Caius. But we do know about Gores. So, like, tribute over for Gores, attack over Caius. That still clears the Caius. And they probably are still in a winning position. So, like, I think it's kind of a wash. But yeah, it's definitely unfortunate when things like that happen. But yeah, going into game 2. I do think that, you know, a lot of decks have Hate for Lightsworn in their side deck. So it could be a lot better for Clemens here in game 2. Because, you know, you bring in your Light Imprisonment Mirrors, you bring in just Hate for Lightsworn, and that could be good. The one downside is you can't really bring in, like, Graveyard Hate. Like, you can't bring in, like, Dim Fizz or things like that. Because that hits your own deck, like, just as hard. So, like, that makes it kind of awkward, but I do think that there's a lot that the deck can bring in to shut down a little bit of what Lightsworn's doing. But yeah, that game was very, very intense. I'm looking forward to the rest of the match. I think this was a very, very fun one. A lot going on here, and a lot of potential for this game. So, I'm curious what Wagmuffin's deciding. I wonder if they've got side deck cards for zombies, if that's something that was on their radar. or if they're just sort of having to figure out a side game plan on the fly. But yeah, Book of Life is very nice to have versus Lightsworn. You banish some of their key lights in their grave. That could be very good. Beckoning, though, can counter that a little bit, but to be fair, they have to have a set card with Beckoning, so you can sort of like have a read that they've got Beckoning, potentially. But, yeah. Kaiku coming down, setting 1, passing back. And let's see what Wagamuffin's doing. Kaiku very good as well against Lightsworn. So, Solar Recharge, pitching a Lumina. Very interesting pitch there. And then draw 2, mill 2. Building a Necro, but that Necro is not useful into the Kaiku there. The fact that they pitched Lumina is interesting. I wonder what else they have in their hand. Because normally I would keep Lumina around if I mill a Lightsworn that can get over Kaiku. But I think there is reason to discard it if you don't have much else going on in hand. I don't know. It's a bit tricky. Ryo's going to come down. That's going to be very good against this Kaiku if it's able to get over it. It looks like we'll be able to get over it. So Ryo does shut off charges, which is annoying. But it also shuts off things like Goblin Zombie, which is more annoying for Clemens. Oh, Death Shoot is going to be brutal. Ugh. Especially for a combo deck like Instant Zombies, it's really rough to get key pieces of your combo like ripped out of hand. Because like, let's say you got Instant Fusion and a Monarch. If they take the Monarch, that Instant Fusion isn't really doing anything. So, yeah, exactly. Ryo cuts down combo potential because if you want to do like an extra deck play, Ryo just tributes itself and pops it. So, yeah, see right here. There's a Solemn. There's a LV. I don't know what LV is, but Zombie Master Instant Fusion. So, they had the play into a Caius, but then the Death Shoot just rips away the Caius, and then it's kind of rough there. What is LV? LV in a zombie deck could be, probably not level limit area B. I doubt that would be, that's also abbreviated LLab. Oh, Lightning Vortex. Okay, that makes sense. Pitching an Instant Fusion. Are they going to go for, oh, they got a Turtle. Okay, so Turtle is the new one. They're going to attack him with Turtle. Try and set it up so that way they get Zombie Master plays, I guess, in the future. But yeah, that's a lot of investment there. Losing the Instant Fusion. So Limit Reverse was a good guess as well. Yeah, that could have been it as well. But yeah, because you Limit Reverse, bring back the Reaper on the Nightmare. That's really good. Although then it's getting targeted, so then it pops itself. So I guess that's not as good unless you have Skill Drain up. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other zombie targets that you'd be bringing back with that, but it'd just be Reaper, like base Reaper, which again has the same problem as Reaper on the Nightmare. A Shining Angel comes down. Very interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting pick. I wonder if they brought that in because they're facing zombies, but it is neat. Yeah, I guess that can go into Honest. So it's a way to get Honest out that sort of plays around your own Ryo. Although, not that you have many ways to search out Honest anyways, but like, that is very interesting. Yeah, they're going to attack in to the Turtle, and Mizuki's going to come down on Clemens' side. Mizuki, pretty good monster just to have in rotation in general. And let's see what Clemens does here. Tributing that Mizuki for the Caius. Perfect top deck. Banishing the Shining Angel. Now, are they going to attack into a Gores, or are they going to leave it at this? I think that either one could be fine. They're going to go Mizuki for Turtle. I think that also works. Having the Turtle gives you a bit of insulation against Gores, because if they bring out Gores, yes, they do have a lot of monsters on their side of the field. They can attack into your stuff. However, they have to eat through the Turtle, which can get into a Reaper, and so it's a bit harder for them to actually kill you through that. But I think it is fine just to attack in here. Looks like they are going to attack in with everything, not using the Necro yet. I think that does make sense, although there is the risk of a Kaiku coming back and preventing the Necro on a future turn. But yeah, I mean, the Lightning Vortex is just brutal because, like, Lightsworn can go really wide with their field, especially if they mill Wolves and if they're doing Lumina plays, as Luzbel mentions. So it is just really, really rough to lose that. Solemn is going to stop the recharge, just hoping to cut off what they're doing. I think that does make some sense, even if it is very risky to do. But I think, like, you just can't let Lightsworn get started. And it looks like Lightsworn is going to set one pass, which I think is sort of, an ideal spot for Clemens to be in. Another Caius. Oh my god, that's like the best draw it could have been. Not the end of the game just yet, unless that is a dark monster. But if it's not a dark, then Necro can at least block an attack here. But if it is a dark, we might see a scoop, and that is the scoop. So, wow, that was really, really good. Good on Clemens for going for the Solemn on the recharge, because that is something that a lot of people would wait on. Like, a lot of people would be like, well, I want to save the Solemn for the actual, like, thing that hurts me here, like the play that's the choke point for them. But they know about Solemn, so, like, they're going to try and play around Solemn if they can. So it makes more sense just to Solemn the recharge and prevent them from having more options. So I think that was a very, very heads-up play. And yeah, that was a brilliant comeback from Clemens there. I think the set had to be like Necro or Sangan, because otherwise Whiteman was still in it. Maybe it was another tech card that they just don't want to reveal yet. But yeah, that was very, very good. And another comeback. Let's go. The zombie believers are getting proven right here. Will they be proven right in game 3? I'm excited to find out. I am very happy the Zombies was able to clutch that one out. And that was such a clutch one, too. Especially after Dust Shoot spinning back the Caius, having to use the Lightning Vortex, pitching the Instant Fusion. It was brutal there for a bit. But Zombies pulled it back. Zombie Gang rise. Let's go. Charge, though. That is a very good start for Clemens here. Or not for Clemens, for Wagmuffin. And revealing that Herald. So they're on the Herald package here. So I guess they're going into more of like a fairy sort of engine here, which makes sense with the Shining Angels. But it's very interesting for Herald to be there. I guess that does hit Monarchs. So the idea is like if you invest like an Instant Fusion into a Monarch, you're basically, that's a 2-for-2 trade, but you're setting up your graveyard as well. So that's something. It's also a tuner for synchro plays, but yeah, that's pretty good. And Kaiku, of course, very good against zombies as well. So Kaiku, but good against both of these decks, which is why both decks are playing it. Lila coming down, and that will get those 3 mills there. So let's see what they mill. Anything good? Not really. That is a bit of a whiff. No Lightsworn names engraved is very, very good for Clemens here. They're going to set 2. They know about the Lila, so like that has to probably be a chainable, or they're just like, if you use the effect, I'm fine with that, because then you don't have another monster in attack. But I feel like that is probably a chainable. They're going to go for Lila, try and pop, and it's a legacy, so it makes sense. Getting that draw in, so good baiting on the Lila. Tributing for Celestia. Celestia can pop the set in mill 4, so that also makes some sense. Is that going to be a Goblin Zombie? Milling a Necro, that is pretty good. Hitting a Reaper, oof, that is not good for Clemens, but these mills have been really bad for Lightsworn. So that's very interesting. Luzbel mentioned that Caius is the greatest tools in these decks to get rid of cards like Ryo. I wonder if she played at 3 or 2, or which is the better ratio. Yeah, I feel like 3 makes a lot of sense in Instant Zombies because you have so many ways to get into the Caius and enable it. So I would go for 3. But I think that it probably takes more experimentation, and people who've tested out the deck more probably have better opinions on that. Prada mentions, I wonder if they are running the other Fairy Lightsworn monsters. I would assume if you're going for a Fairy package, you're doing that, but BrainCon for Speak of the Devil, the Caius here, and that's going to run into a TT, but you did clear the board quite efficiently, and those names engraved are not great for Wagmuffin there. Luzbel mentions that draw traps make so much sense in a format where Lila and Raikou are so common, and I think draw traps are going to be really big in this format, getting you into your gas more often, getting you into your charges more often if you're using that. So I think that does make a lot of sense, and as you mentioned, Lila and Raikou are going to be everywhere, so having things that can interact with that in a favorable way is a good thing to have. Wagmuffin only 2 Lightsworns engraved, so, and also both JDs engraved, so that's like not ideal for them. But they do have the Shining Angel, so the Fairy package is coming in here. Yeah, and it does bait out Heavy and True Nate as well, which many decks are playing because they're very, very good backer removal. So the Shining Angel is going to attack in for 14, and Clemens is already down pretty low, which is a bit worrying. They have to fight from low life points, where Wagmuffin has very high life points right now. They've got Shining Angel, which can stick around on field a lot more easily. If they want to do an Instant Fusion play, that's going to cost them 1,000 more life, so it is very, very tricky here. And that Shining Angel, if that goes into an Honest, then Wagmuffin has one of the most powerful, ways to win battles in this format, and also very, very good in low life point situations to have an Honest basically force your opponent into awkward situations. Sidra will also be decent here at getting over the Shining, but I don't even know if you attack into the Shining Angel, because Shining Angel can't be treated for Celestia for the effect, because Celestia has to treat a Lightsworn monster. So I don't even know if this is worth it. I mean, maybe they've got ways to just keep White off of attacking in, but I feel like this is definitely a bit of a risk. I'm thinking about whether to Necro here, though. So that, or maybe they've got an Honest in hand already. So maybe it's just already over in that capacity. Oh, they got a Trag. Okay, that makes sense as well. Yes, so Trag will be here. And Honest does fuel the Trag as well. So that is a bit awkward because you add back the Honest to hand. You can't bottomless during damage step. Because this is during damage step. So no bottomless here. Yeah, so unfortunately, can't bottomless the Trag. You can't bottomless what comes out of the Shining Angel. So yeah. Yeah, 3-time Honest is just crazy good. It's disgusting. But yeah, as Luzbel mentioned, having to pay multiples of 1,000 for your play seems like a drawback in a format where Blackwings and Swarms can easily reach high numbers during a battle phase. And we're seeing that here, right? They're already down to 3,500. And that hadn't even been with Instant Fusion. That's just been with Wagmam just hitting in over the course of the game a little bit and not having the option to really bounce back there. This explains the attack in. Yep, Vortex coming down. Getting rid of that Plague. And just like that, I'm on the Hopium train again. I'm excited. That Plague Engrave is very, very good for combo potential later, even though having less cards in hand does make it a bit more awkward to draw stack. But I am feeling hopeful here. Oh, no. That makes me a bit less hopeful. Heavy for the double bottomless there. I feel like, honestly, only one bottomless was needed because they can't really get into JD that easily. So, like, I guess the fear is if they go, like, MST, and then, like, you don't have the bottomless for that, but, like, I don't know what you're worried about in terms of, like, having two bottomless. So that maybe it's a bluff because they revealed one bottomless by accident. They're like, I don't want, my opponents just know that I don't have anything that could stop certain plays. But this is very awkward here. Going for Lumina, bring back the Lila, and then there is the Sork. So Sork can get over the Lila, and then the Sidra, and then Lila and Lumina can attack in. So it's not over yet. Club instead of a draw. But it is looking rough. Lightning Vortex won't even do it here because you need a pitch for that. Yeah, this is definitely a rough time. Book of Life didn't even do it because you Book of Life the Reaper, and then yeah, I mean I agree, Luzbel. I think that zombies definitely have potential, and I feel like part of the fun in exploring these formats is that a lot of that potential is untapped, and there's a lot to experiment with. So I'm excited to see what people come up with. That's why I like holding these locals, seeing what comes down, and yeah. Oh, they had Consecrated Light as well. Oof, they were going hard in against zombies. But yeah, very, very cool games. I was on the zombie copium in the end, but unfortunately it was not quite there. But still very, very cool. I think these games could have gone either way. And that's fun to see in a format like this. So I'm excited for the tournament that's happening on the Discord server as well. If you like what you saw here and want to explore Lightsworn format for yourself, head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. Monthly tournament will be starting in about an hour from now. So we're going to start at 6:30 p.m. EST. So there is still time to sign up. And I'm really looking forward to what that brings here. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, if you missed it, I probably won't be streaming next weekend because I am going to a wedding and I've got a lot of busy stuff related to that. So I will not be able to really do that. But I'll be back the next weekend with another locals. And I'll see if I can get someone else to stream locals next weekend. There will still be a locals. It'll just be unstreamed. Unless I find someone to stream it. Or I find some time, which I probably won't be able to do, but we'll see. So I hope you enjoyed as always. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into Lightsworn format. I still need to do some videos on it, but I've had a bit of a hectic time. Wedding stream would be very funny. I don't think that the bride and groom would appreciate me doing a wedding stream, but it would be very funny. So yeah, but it'll be fun. So, life sometimes happens, and you gotta take that into account. And that's been what's been happening with me in terms of my video output. But hopefully, well, I don't want to say hopefully life happens a little less because I do enjoy what I'm doing in life. But hopefully I have more time for Yu-Gi-Oh content and streams and videos and stuff like that in the future. But I hope you enjoyed as always. I'm going to sign off here. And yeah, exactly as Praj says, hopefully y'all will be twice as ready for my next video, which will be going through all the new cards in Lightsworn format, which is basically all the new cards diving into Edison format. I will mention the cards that are not in Edison, or that are not in Lightsworn that are in Edison, and I'll be talking about the ban list a lot, but we'll be diving through a lot of very interesting cards that got released, and a lot of what makes Edison format so great applies to Lightsworn format as well. So I'm excited to, post that video, and it's going to be many hours. So it'll be a bit of a chonker. So the absence will lead to a big video on the other end. So hopefully y'all enjoy it. But I'm going to sign off here. I hope you enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero. Signing off. Peace.